All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Heck, Gabe, and Goose. The Challenge, Part 1. In this episode, the crew is taking on a challenge of their own, and we are sharing the journey. We cover topics that range from accountability, affirmations, motivation, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Roy T. Bennet and Martin Luther King Jr. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, gentlemen, here we are. It is November.
Yo. Yes, let's go. Let's get this.
So what are we doing? We're doing a 4-week challenge. The goal of this is actually to end the year off strong, and then kind of send you all off on your own after this month. But I wanted to do something where together we do a challenge. A lot of folks take on October for a variety of things, and also November for a variety of things. And people have different reasons and different motives. This, honestly, it was just an overall wanting to be healthier in multiple categories. And I thought, what better way to track it and have ourselves held accountable through each other for a 4-week process. It's technically going to be 28 days. So we're going to have the challenge part 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to track our progress, where we are, the ups, the downs, whether, this was, whether it was hard, what have you. And we're just going to share that journey with you all, and then we'll see what comes of it. But so for the next 4 weeks, you're just going to have the crew here with you. These episodes will not be as our traditional length, meaning they're probably going to be somewhere between 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And so it's not going to be any drastic, drawn out thing by any means. Well, that's a goal anyway. We're going to keep these short and sweet, sort of get feedback, interject some motivation, maybe some feedback for each other, and kind of uplift each other. The thing is, we have a brotherhood here, and I figure something like a challenge will make it stronger. Once again, from what comes from that, I have several items that I am developing for the Blessed Lifestyle brand, and this is one of them. And we'll announce some of that stuff. But this is kind of one of the trials that we're going through, and I'm doing it with 3 of the strongest men that I know in my circle anyway. So I look forward to it. Today was actually day 1. And we'll kind of go through what are the items that are involved in this challenge. It's nothing wild. It's nothing crazy over the top. It's basically a beginner level, entry level, I should say. And but the goal is to build off of this initial challenge. And again, we're going to track the progress for the next 4 weeks. Well, technically 28 days. So it'll be before 4 episodes, but it'll be completed by the end of November. There's no real true days off, just because it's not hardcore as some of those other challenges and things that are out there. But like I said, I think when you develop a habit, even if it comes from this challenge, a very small habit, I think you can build off of it. And so whether we turn this and we double exit for December, or triple or quadruple it, or maybe just do it on our own moving forward, I think we have to start somewhere. And I think the best way to start, I'm a firm believer in starting small. Very firm believer. I think a lot of times people don't do these challenges or don't challenge themselves is because they overwhelm themselves with a wild practice, right? They overwhelm themselves with a too big of a to-do list. And it's just, you can knock it out probably the first day or two or the first week. And then after that, it's just way too much because you put too much on your plate. But I think if we start small, you can then add to it because it's digestible, if that makes sense. All right. So what we're doing is a challenge. we're going to call it the rotated views challenge for this initial thing, is 7 items once a day for the next 28 days. Is 1, chug at least 1 bottle of water upon waking up. 2, stretch / workout for 20 minutes, ideally cardio, so walking or jogging. Pray / meditate for 10 minutes. Study, read for 10 minutes. 5, review / recite affirmations for 3 minutes. 6, write 1 thing you are grateful for. And 7, intermittent fast for 1 meal, meaning skipping a meal, or withholding yourself from a meal within a specific time frame. And ideally, we're doing breakfast. However, the guys can choose whatever meal that might be. It might be better that it's passing on lunch or something like that. Anyway, so those are the 7 items. We have them kind of panned out on a calendar, which you're not going to be able to see because it just blocked my face. But it has week 1 activity, week 2 activity, week 3 activity, and week 4 activity. And each week obviously has 7 days. The cool thing about this, we just so happen to start on November 1st, but I think the mission is starting when you're ready to rock and roll and not waiting. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of people wait till January 1st to start eating right and getting right and all these other where I'm not a firm believer. I think it's great if it works, awesome. But if it doesn't work, I say, hey, why not try something different? And so these are one of those things. So I'm going to go around the horn. When I presented this idea to each of you, and heck, I'm going to start with you. What were your initial thoughts on the challenge?
I thought, like, when you set it out, it was pretty much the list that we have here. I thought it was great. They're, like he said, they're not hard. They're very easy things, and they should be things that you do on a daily for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, you should be stretching or walking or doing something. Just keep your body going throughout the day. The fasting part, I rarely eat breakfast when I get up because I go to work and I'm just on the move and just continuously going at work. So unfortunately today, of all the days, I don't eat breakfast. And in my head, I was like, I skipping breakfast because we're starting our challenge today. Dude, I was starving by 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Of all the days, like I've done it for so long. Like I go to work and I'm at work at 7 o'clock in the morning and I don't want anything to eat. I start getting hungry maybe like 10 o'clock in the morning. Today, 8 o'clock. Now I'm starving. Like you hear my stomach grumbling. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm telling my wife, and she's cracking up laughing. She's like, really, heck? You can't control yourself? I'm like, yes, it is what it is. I have no idea. But I mean, like I said, walking, it's pretty much, I take a break at work and I'll join that in. So I have a 15-minute break. So, I mean, I could, I guess, do a 20-minute walk. I mean, I got to walk from the 4th floor down to the 1st floor to walk around. So that's technically 20 minutes. And I could do that. That's easy all day. I mean, in the mornings, I pray in the mornings when I get up in the morning and just, wake up being thankful for everything that I have and family, friends, and everybody, whatever. So study and reading, I have to pick that one up. Review and recite the affirmations. Again, I have to pick that up. I'm always grateful for my family. So like for me, it's just kind of stuff that I do on a routine. And it's just simple stuff. But to stay consistent on it, that's where it's going to be like, you got to get on it. You got to get on it. So, I mean, I think it's a great challenge. I think it's going to help me out, like, in the long run, like you said.
Yeah, no, it's a great point that you made about tracking, because a lot of times it's funny because there's things here that I know for a fact I do every single day. I know, especially the study / read for 10 minutes a day. I do that more than 10 minutes a day. But again, we want to make this digestible just in case someone wasn't on that track yet. But then when it comes to stretch and workout, I don't do. I mean, I'm very busy all over work, but that doesn't necessarily mean I cut out time to, quote, work out, stretch. You know what I mean? And it was something that I've been wanting to get back into. But to go back to your point about tracking it, I think sometimes we think we're doing these things, but
we're not.
Like maybe I have been skipping out on the weekends, or I have been skipping out on a Thursday or Friday, and then because you do regularly, you think you're doing it daily, which are two different things, right?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so that's cool. So, Goose, your initial thoughts on the challenge?
No, yeah, I thought it was like great. Um, it definitely like so out of the seven, I normally do four out of the seven. So which I felt like when I looked at this like lineup, I'm like, this is definitely doable. It's easy. Like I'm not saying it's easy, but it's like four. Like I said, four out of the seven. It's my daily routine anyway. So I just got to
Yeah,
work hard on the three, which is like what Jim said or what Heck said. It's like the study and read for 10 minutes, the read after the review affirmations and like write like so I'm always on the fly, I'm always on the go, but like in the morning I wake up, I always drink like a glass of water before I even take a shower, and then I take my vitamins, whatever, and then I when you hit 40 years old, you gotta stretch in the morning, yo. Like for me, I'm at the age where I gotta like I stand on my feet.
I gotta do
I
it.
I stand on my feet all day long. Like I just gotta make sure I stretch my, especially my back. Like I do stretch my back out. Like sometimes Lauren comes in. I'm in the living room, like have my hand on the guard or the stair rails. I'm stretching my back. It's just part of obviously, like I said, as I get older. But it's like a daily routine, though. Something I do daily, and then the fasting thing, same thing. Like with Heck, I'm not a huge breakfast person, so like I'll drink a glass of water in the morning, and then like I'll have a coffee, and then I really won't eat till probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like lunchtime. That's the time I take lunch. So my early morning, there's really not much going on other than just water, liquids, really. So it's liquids or a coffee
Yeah.
or a tea. So
yeah.
I
The
mean,
fasting
until
part
then,
that we're doing, so everyone is clear. We're allowing obviously water, coffee, tea, that thing. So it's not fasting 100% where you're not digesting or taking anything in. It's a food fast.
it's more of like a
Right.
dieting type, yeah. Um, yeah. So then like those things are like the actual writing. I gotta like write down like my things that I'm grateful for. I write them in my head, but physically writing I don't do. You know what I mean? So like it's that those are just little things I gotta like stop, slam on my brakes, write stuff down, make sure I do it on a daily basis, and just keep tabs on everything. I mean, just like Hack said too, just writing it down, keeping tabs on stuff. It's like I'm looking at these things, right? You wrote them down, and I've done them. I didn't realize they were like it's a routine type thing though that I was doing.
It's your
I
daily
was just
dose
doing
every
it. I
day,
was
right?
just doing it. Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
just doing it. I'm like, yeah, like I don't know. So it's like I said, it's a fairly simple start off. So like this is a
Yeah.
perfect thing to start off with. But like, and then maybe our next challenge will be a little bit different. And it'll keep. But like, this is definitely a great way to start creating habits, daily habits. That's like the best thing, like to
Yeah.
how to put
Good
it.
habits at that, right? Good habits.
Healthy, good, healthy mental, physical
Yeah.
habits.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
for the mind
absolutely.
and soul.
Yeah.
Gabe, what are your initial thoughts of the challenge?
Well, kind of did what other guys, what Mikey and Heck were saying. But yeah, it's like you brought it up. It's like none of it sounded difficult. It's not like you got to do 120-minute workout and all stuff too. It was like,
Yeah.
Right.
or
Yeah.
read for an hour a day. It's like nothing like that. It was like it's simple things that probably we should be doing anyway to some
Yeah.
degree. And like I said, most of like I think for the most, like they said, like I've done at least some version of this too. You just don't track it. So it's like it's kind of like
Yeah.
now actually,
Right.
making sure you're actually doing these things. You're conscious more about like actually doing it as opposed to like, oh yeah, I know I've done it throughout the day, but now you're
Yeah.
physically
Now,
like writing it down and checking, actually
Yeah.
making a checklist and actually marking it off that you're doing
It's
it.
it's written in front of you. So now you're like, all right, I'm keeping check of this now. So it's again
Right.
going back to the whole tracking. So like we all say, we all do it, but we're not keeping track of it. So now it's right in front of your face. So it's like, all right, dang, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna check this day off. I'm gonna make this day go 100%.
Exactly.
And that's basically what it is, right?
And the other part is that now that we know we're all doing it, now we have to keep each other accountable to do
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Is the other
Yeah.
part. So
Yes.
like,
Yeah. Checking in on each other. Yeah, absolutely. So like,
It's crazy.
like, but I said,
It's
I
like,
don't.
no, go ahead, Hank.
So like I was just saying about the whole reading thing. While I'm at work, I'm reading like articles and stuff like that. Excuse me, because with Microsoft, I'm like following up with Microsoft stuff. So I mean, I would rather follow up with or read something a little more healthier for my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I just thought about that I do read Microsoft articles because it's part of my job on a daily routine. But again, I would like to actually not really count that as me reading. I want to kind of make reading something that's going to be healthy for me, like whether it's like reading the Bible or something, or reading something like it's going to help me out in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I gotta switch that. I gotta figure it out. But yeah, that's pretty much.
Also, Goose, I think you were going to say something.
No. It
Yeah.
just makes you evaluate like your daily routine. Now you're like, wait, I didn't realize I did this. I didn't realize like I said
Yeah.
earlier. It's like so. I mean, and if you really, again, going back to writing things down, if you write everything you do on a daily basis, you probably do more things than you think you do.
Yep.
As far as like habits, like habits and like just little like, because at the same time, like, yeah, reading, I don't read for 10 minutes, but I do read in the morning. Like there's this thing called the Breakfast Club, and it has like, it's all crypto stuff. And I just do like a brief reading. Same thing with like ESPN. I do a brief reading on like stats and stuff. Like it's, but again, like Heck said, stuff, those are just like, for me, it's like for the barbershop, it's topic of conversation. Keep myself with like what's going on in
like
current times, yeah, right? But as far as like educate myself, there's different things, or reading a book for reflect or self help or whatever you want to make yourself better. And it's different reading than just reading those articles on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, and Gabe, to your initial point that it was like nothing crazy, and I think it's the thread of this conversation. What's awesome about this is that I'm giving the guys or us freedom of what they choose. The 20 minutes of exercise or stretching is, the reading, what the reading items are, what they're grateful for, right? So what's great about creating habits that we're actually tracking and holding each other accountable for is you can easily amplify those. So let's say at the end of this challenge, we're like, okay, we got through it. That was easy. And the goal, honestly, that's the minimum. Like what is drawn out, that's the minimum. If you can do more. Like, for example, I know it's only day one, but I went for a walk. I walked my son for 30 minutes just around the neighborhood. And so it was like and I stretched for actual 5 minutes. Same thing. Goose, I had like the kids laughing, so I'm doing some goofy stretches. But I typically just did like a quick, anytime I did any level of cardio. I mean, dude, I'm talking like a minute worth of stretching at most. But when I tracked it for 5 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, 5 minutes felt forever.
Yeah.
But it's tracked, and I'm like, all right, so maybe I thought I was doing X, Y, and Z, but I really truly wasn't. And then I had like the whole little squad here, stretching and stuff with me, and then obviously getting Cade involved because he went on the walk, with me. And then when it comes to like the reading, you could amplify that by what if we all had the same book? I'm not saying that's what we're doing now. The next time, you can amplify by, if we all read Who Moved My Cheese, let's just say, in a small book, right? Yeah. And you have to read 5 a day. And then we're kind of, tracking it by talking about the book, like a book discussion. And sharing this. That's how that can get amplified, right? Meditation, you can have, you can grow that. Obviously, that's just a time thing. So prayer or meditation, you could just amplify that by double it. Do it for 20 minutes instead of 10, Working out, to Gabe's point, we could say, you could work out for freaking an hour plus or whatever and say that's the minimum, right? So these are just the minimums. And for the drinking water, you're going to get to a point where it's going to get amplified to a gallon of water a day, right? But if I say all that, isn't that super overwhelming? Isn't it like,
oh, totally,
I gotta walk around 4 gallons of water. I gotta I gotta wake up 4 more hours earlier than what I was. Maybe we'll get there, and we will get there at some point. But right now, it's just like, let's just get started. Let's just do this.
Right.
Let's just do this. And who knows? In 2 weeks, we might be staring at each other like, all right, let's just bump it up for 5 minutes on each category. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? But this is just the minimum, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Jim, like you were
Because
saying,
it can get overwhelming.
yeah,
Goose.
Jim, like you were saying, like the boys and they're getting involved and stuff. It's like it's cool to get the family involved. So when I printed out like the itinerary thing, right? I had it sitting on the counter, and Lauren's reading it. She's like, you know what? I think I could do this too. So she's like, I want to try. I want to try to do it. I'm like, all right, go for it. So I'm printing
Yeah.
out her own thing. I mean, I don't know how far it's gonna go, but like at least it
Hey,
was
she's giving
appealing
it a
to
try.
her. It's appealing to her. So she's like, yo, you know what? That does seem like it's doable. So let me try.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how serious she was, but she definitely said it, and I'm like, all right, let's go for it.
Yeah.
So
And that
yeah,
adds
Right.
an
So now
extra
you
layer
can
on
keep
top
her
of
in
it.
check with it, right? You
yeah,
stay on top
yeah.
of her. I'm like, oh, what did you do today? What's your check off today? That's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
holding
super
each other accountable. And the important part, to that point where I mentioned my example of Cade and you mentioned the example of Lauren, and Kelly too. Kelly didn't say she was going to do my wife. She didn't say she was going to quote do the challenge. She was inquiring about it though because she saw that it was on the table because Goose brought over some printouts or whatever last night. So, but the influence. So the goal is I want my circle of influence. Like I want the guys, the men that are around me and my family. I want them to be stand up, solid, disciplined men, right? And then we're influencing the whole crew. So if we're all working out, we're all educating ourselves, praying, meditating every day, staying as healthy as possible, right? Our families are going to want to do the same thing. And it's not going to go out like someone's going to say, oh, Jim's nuts. He's working out for 5 hours a day and blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Have a conversation with Goose or Heck or Gabe and it's like, yeah, so am I. And all of a sudden, we just raised the bar. Now that is the norm. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So now everybody in the circle, it's not like one, because there's always one maniac, right? There's always the one guy who goes to hell with like exaggerated one thing. Like he could be fantastic with working out. Some dude could be extremely fit, but that's all they do. Like the physical, they're good, but they're not reading books. They're not writing down their goals. They're not making positive affirmations. They're not sharing what they're grateful for, right? And the other thing is like this, there's so many add-ons that can be that my goal is to develop an actual program out of it. And we're going to share the feedback. And then we'll eventually share the program and then just tap in. Like whenever you're ready to rock and roll, you could also tap into the program. But again, you don't want these things to be so overwhelming. People are like, oh my gosh, there's so many to-do lists. There's only 7 things.
Yeah.
And as
it's not much. It's not like you have to do everything all one by one. You do it throughout the day.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it that much easier, right? So you're not like, all right, so now you're spending 2 hours straight trying to complete 1 through 7. No. You make it fit for your work schedule. Like you can't read after you chug a bottle of water, so you're gonna read later on when you have a 15-minute break, you read for 10 minutes or whatever the case is. So that's the best part about this thing. So it's a daily routine that you break up throughout the day. You don't have to do it in one shot. I mean, if you do it in one shot, good for you. But
yeah, it's not even, and actually it's not supposed to be done in one chunk. The point truly is that this is a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle change.
Right.
So Goose, to your point, and I know, Heck, I think you're very similar in this, where you guys sometimes go home for lunch. So it's not even like, the other thing when people get into these challenges, they make everything so official. Don't make it an official meaning like, I have to do it this way and it has to be this. No, it doesn't. When we say pray, meditate for 10 minutes a day, it could be 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, right before you go to bed, right? 10 minutes. We're not saying you have to do it all one time. Same thing with reading, right? So we have study/review for 10 minutes. Dude, if I personally think, for me, a specific time for reading works for me. But to the point where it's like not everyone can carry around books and things like that. Like I have where I can, and then I could just bust it out, and I would probably do it on my lunch break. But when Heck and Goose go home for lunch, they have the book or the thing that they're reading for the day while they're eating lunch. You just skim through it. You're going to be eating lunch for at least 20 minutes, right? 10, 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
You could be reading something. So it's just being mindful of your time. It doesn't have to be like, oh, the whole world has to stop because I have to read for 10 minutes. It's not that. It's incorporating it in your day. The time is there. it's almost inexcusable for any of us here to not be doing any of these things.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder at the same time. We can incorporate this. This is not, it says write one thing you're grateful for. And then there's a box on the activity thing. Like today, I just wrote health. I'm grateful for my health. If I just start there, right? And there's just so many things, there's millions of things we should be grateful for, but it's bang, health. One thing, just one thing, write it down. And then by the end of the challenge, maybe I'm reciting a bunch of things that I'm grateful for, right? I just think it's a healthy way for our mind, body, and soul improvement. What are your expectations for the next 20 days? We'll start with Heck.
Expectations. I honestly think I expect it to, for myself anyway, I expect to understand myself a little better. Just be more healthier and just take it from there and make myself a better person. I mean, I honestly want to get all this stuff down so that I can be a better person to my family, to my friends, like to my kids, my wife. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely. Goose, what are some of the things you want to get out of this?
Well, obviously, create those routines that I don't have, add them into my daily, so like I said, out of the 7, I normally do 4 pretty much on a daily basis, add the other 3 into it and make it a continuous thing where it's like I said, it's something that I don't even notice I'm doing. It just happens. So then obviously with doing all those things, it makes you, whatever you're reading, you're carrying on with you every day. So if you're reading a positive book, you're just going to feel you're just going to think that whole positive mentality, and you're going to that's just what's going to come out. Right. So, even working out, that you physically look good, drink a lot of water, you're going to be hydrated. So you're going to be have energy. And so, I mean, just to become like I said earlier, it's a physical, knowledgeable, emotional, different person.
Absolutely. Gabe, what are you trying to get out of this? Or what are you expecting out of it?
Well, kind of like Mikey said, it's like the few things I know I absolutely 100% do all the time, is to fill in the gaps with the other ones I don't do. It's like that I know I need to do those things anyway. And it's like I want to create that habit now because it's stuff I know I should be doing, and it's just like, oh, I'll do it later on. Like kind of said in the beginning, it's like, oh, you know you should be doing it, but it's kind of like you keep putting it off, and it's like now's the time to do it. I mean, it doesn't matter now. It still happens to be November 1st, but it's like at the time of recording, but it is the time to start it now. So
absolutely, and I agree, and you guys know, I think the biggest thing here is accountability, holding each other accountable. I think it's important. A lot of times we go on these journeys alone. I think that there's great power in doing things in groups. We're doing it in a small group, and what that transforms into, I'm not 100% sure, but the goal is to roll this into another challenge. Whether we all part ways and do our own little challenge or stick with what we're doing, it's not something we have to come back to the podcast and share every single thing. But
sure.
we can share, where we are, where we're struggling, where we're, progressing at, and things like that, and then just kind of motivate each other. I think we are the motivation for each other. Our families are the motivation for each other. Our health and wealth motivation. I think motivation plays an important factor. I think being inspired plays an important factor. The great thing was the feedback that I got instantly from each of you when I proposed the challenge was immediately everyone responded, yes, I'm down. This is doable. Let's do it. There was no pushback. There was no oh man, that's too. And I think the biggest key here is starting small. It's because we're starting small. And then a lot of times we don't give ourselves credit for the things that we are doing right. We're always picking at ourselves we're like our biggest critics, right?
Yeah.
Like we're always negative to ourselves and picking apart, man, I'm not doing this, man, I'm not doing that. The funny part about this conversation that we're having here, it's a positive one. We're saying, I am doing these things. I already am doing it. Now I get to track it and compliment and reward myself for doing it. And I get to somewhat on some level display that. I just think it's cool as it's as cool as anything that everyone's immediate response was like, yes, let's do it. I also think it's cool that we're doing it in the end of a year. And so it's like finish strong. A lot of people start strong. We talk about this a lot.
Sure.
Right.
And there's a lot of motivation that's amplified in the beginning of every single new year. It's just our culture. It's just what we do here. Well, I can speak for America anyway. And it's just pushed on us like, oh, new year, new me, new this, new that. And here we're kind of pushing towards finish strong. Like we all might have started strong, you know. And I'm still calling this the greatest year ever. It's still written on my bulletin board, and actually to this date, it has been the greatest year ever for me. So I just want to finish strong. That's the biggest thing for me.
But Jim, like thinking about it, it's not even like you're finishing strong. It's just you have that head start for next year.
Exactly. For next year.
Like now
I
was going to say that huge running start to like now you don't have to start the struggles January 1st. You're dealing with the struggles of it now, and then just keep it moving while people are starting, trying to figure like stuff out in January.
You're ahead of the game.
We're just keeping moving. Like that's just like that huge running start for 2023.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a great point. I'm also going to share. So a lot of people always ask about affirmations. So I shared with the guys over 100 affirmations that I have in my personal phone. I
took up all the storage on my phone.
So I'm going to share, maybe each week I'll share, 10 to 15 to 20 of the ones that we have here. And again, I told the guys to, change them up to wherever they want to have them. But I think affirmations and positive self-talk are important to this. I think it builds yourself up. It helps with the process, especially, not every day you're going to feel pumped up and motivated and excited ready to rock and roll. You know what I mean? I think we have each other to hold each other accountable. But I think there's a portion there that you have to have the ability to lift yourself up at the same time. And I think the affirmations is where you can plug and play these kinds of things. And listen, I'm the first one to admit they don't 100% work all the time, but I don't think that they're working 100% of the time, but they are playing in the back of my mind, which is why they are massively important to have positive affirmations and positive self-talk to get you over the days that probably aren't as exciting or aren't going as planned. So here's the first ones I'm going to share of the affirmations. I am love. I radiate love. I am loved. God loves me. My family loves me. My friends love me. My colleagues love me. My neighbors love me. I am blessed. I am guided. I am protected. I am exuberant. I am having a prosperous day. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am abundant. My investments will hit all-time highs today and remain there. All of my investments are in the green. My bank account continues to grow daily. I am wise. I am prosperous. I am successful. I am victorious. So that's just some of them, right? And again, I shared about a little over 100 of them. And so that's powerful. If you're repeating those things and you stop right there. Let's just say you stop at I am victorious. Then you go backwards. I am victorious. I am successful. I am prosperous. I am wise. I am guided. I am blessed. I am protected. I am exuberant. I am loved, right? And you keep saying, and you're just going up and down for 3 minutes. It's all 3 minutes. You can do that in the car. You can literally say these things, memorize and say them while you're driving somewhere, and it's done. You're done for the day, right? I think these are some of the things where this is definitely something you can mix out throughout the day. So if you do it once in the morning for 1 minute of affirmations, 1 minute in the afternoon, and 1 minute in the evening, and it's just 1 minute. That's really not saying this isn't anything that's over the top and extremely demanding. So we shared a little bit about the accountability, affirmation, and the final question, I guess we sort of shared already, is sort of like, what's your motivation? I think it's sort of, the outcome and to inspire those around us. And I think if we're continually inspiring those around us in a positive way, that's my motivation, my family, obviously. And I think we all share that. And obviously to become the best versions of ourselves. This is something that, the Blessed Lifestyle brand's all about. the motivation files when we all collaborated on this, and the Rotated Views podcast. Our whole goal of sharing all this information is not only for us, but for everyone around us to become the best versions of themselves. So that way we're constantly around people that are always improving themselves, right? And becoming the better versions of themselves. That's only going to elevate all of us. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's a core motivation. And it's time for, I think, everyone to step up. It's time for, friends and family to step up. I think it's time for us as a society to step up, a country, the world. I think it's time for everyone to unify and become the best versions of ourselves. Let's keep things positive. Let's grow together. Let's become better together. That in itself is all the motivation we need. Does anyone have any final word before we cut out here and we end part 1 of the challenge?
I can't wait to see everyone's paper at the end of this challenge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The check marks and how clean the paper stays white.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. No, it's exciting. It's going to be exciting.
Heck's saying that because he's gonna have all his kids with crown marks and stickers, and he's gonna have.
So mine was on the fridge, and Phoenix must have write on it right away.
Yeah.
We got 28 days. Today was day 1. I was able to check off everything on the list already for day 1. However, I was off today, so it was a little easier than normal for me. But I took advantage of that, and I wanted to start strong. So we got 28 days of this, day 1 down. I'm excited to hear the progress. Again, future episodes, we're going to keep this anywhere between 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Today went a little bit over. However, it's the intros part 1. So we'll have 4 parts of this. And we're all becoming the best versions of ourselves. Like every podcast, we like to wrap things up with quotes. And the first one is from Martin Luther King Jr. You do not have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And the second one by Roy T. Bennett. Turn your obstacles into opportunities and your problems into possibilities. The challenge, part 1 in this episode, the crew is taking on a challenge of our own, and we're sharing the journey. We cover topics that range from accountability, affirmations, motivation, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Roy T. Bennett and Martin Luther King Jr.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by the Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.